Hi everyone, recently I did a quick unboxing and quick experience on the Google Pixel 7a, and honestly my first impression about Google in general, because simply put I never used a Google Pixel, but today we're gonna see how it does in general when it comes to the camera performance on this Google Pixel 7a, because of course Google uses a lot of computational photography when it comes to their images. So we're gonna find out how well they do in general, and if it's more for social media or if it's more for a photographer, kind of like me. I wouldn't say I'm a professional photographer, but I do enjoy photography. Anyway, let's find out how the Google Pixel 7a does in terms of camera performance. And the main focus for today is daytime performance. Either way, let's jump into the video and showcase how well it does in general. And yes, because of the power button placement that is wrong, this often happened. So here we go, and let's simply dive into how the Google Pixel 7a performs in terms of camera and my comments about it so far while using it and what I've noticed. Overall, I would say I'm surprised by the results that I'm getting in daytime. It does better than I thought it would, and I expected a bit more of a computational photography look, but overall I would say I'm quite impressed. While in general I'm going to discuss the character of the shot and it lacking it when it comes to the Google Pixel 7a, the impressive part where I feel like the Google Pixel 7a does well is if you want that quick snapshot. The Google Pixel 7a will often provide you with that result that the wider audience will like. It's quick, it's easy, and it will do its job pretty well. And while it might not be what I am looking for when it comes to, of course, a phone and its camera, it is more of what people are looking for in general for their simple shots without looking into style. This comes down to shots looking pretty bright, but granted, not too bright like some other phones I've tested. The contrast is also a bit flat for me, making images in general look a little bit more flat, but also quite punchy, because of course having those shadows a little bit less, and in general colors as well are not to my liking. Colors are more saturated, whites are really white, and of course blue have a little bit punch to them as well, especially when we talk about greens. But this is in general. Every now and then I do really get a shot that I generally think is good. That feels less like computational photography is a big part of the shot itself, going into the background to create said shot. And I will compliment it for its consistency in general. The performance between the main camera and ultra wide in general is also good, with styles looking very similar. But don't ask this phone, like many others I have tested, to give you the possibility to play around with styles, effects or anything like that. This isn't on the Pixel camera app, neither is a Pro mode. This is where I feel like the Google Pixel 7a is kind of losing my interest when it comes to the camera itself. That possibility to play around with the camera itself is one of the major things that I like about mobile photography, heck, in general photography. So like always on my channel, I want to give you the opportunity to simply look at these images and judge them for yourself. Me telling you what I feel about it shouldn't affect you. So here are more shots taken on, of course, the Google Pixel 7a, and we're going to showcase how video performance is in general as well. Either way, let's dive into the rest of the shots taken on this Google Pixel 7a.
So, while I have my opinion about the Pixel 7a, let's record a video at the same time and test how the capabilities are. Simply put, this is probably not a camera for me. When it comes to camera performance, the possibility to play around for me is important. And the Pixel 7a is a really good point and shoot, but it doesn't have that possibility to play around with it. Not to mention that the shots that come out of it, they just lack character. And again, that's something hard to explain, and it's hard to let someone understand what I mean with it. But that LP player is coming back to mind when I'm talking about character. Simply put, that's something that the Pixel 7a lacks, and the possibility to play around with it. We're recording 1080p, 60 frames per second. Let's continue with the story. One thing that I really noticed as well is that colors are quite vibrant. Images do have to tend to have that saturation more bumped up, and in terms of brightness as well. Color accuracy isn't always there. It really depends on the shot. Sometimes it's pretty solid, and sometimes it's quite a bit off. But again, it's mostly the character that lacks for me. Front camera, wow, very different colors than on the rear camera, but yeah. Pixel 7a seems like a solid point and shoot. Just don't expect it to be good for photographers. Simply put, it isn't. But you know, like I said, it's a €509 phone. The biggest problem that I have with it simply is the possibility to play around with it. But this is a good test to play around and to see how the camera performs, especially for someone who's never used a Pixel at all. And well, they're highly praised often when it comes to the tech reviews, and I understand why. They like that bright, saturated shot that just doesn't reflect, you know, how it is. And that's why they don't understand Sony. That's clearly a thing. And latest Xiaomi devices as well, because they don't understand the feel of a shot that much. They go for that perfect shot that isn't really perfect and lacks anything when it comes to character. Well, I have to compliment the general performance and quick possibility to shoot with it. Again, I will say that it's simply not for me. Will it beat the Poco F5, for instance? The camera category, definitely. But when it comes to character, the possibility to play around with it again, this is where the Pixel 7a really needs to work on. And the power button placement, but it's beside the point. But yeah, Pixel 7a, great for quick shots, great for social media. Not great for photographers, especially when it comes to color accuracy and that saturation and the brightness, and just lacking any character.
So, the Google Pixel 7a, what do I think about the camera experience? There are some things that I genuinely like, especially having that meter on there. So, a horizontal meter or vertical really doesn't matter, but the meter itself is horizontal. When you are at a certain degree, of course, you will be able to see that. 2 degrees, just know that you need to shift it a little bit, and when you are at 0, it actually has a little vibration showcasing or telling you you are at that proper level, meaning that the shot will always be straight, and that definitely is something that is very useful, and I think every single brand should implement that. I love that about the Google Pixel 7a when it comes to photography on the phone. Now, the results. What can I say? Simply put, if you want a reliable, quick shooter, I think they do well. Here I have no issue whatsoever when it comes to Google, and they perform well in that. I think for Instagram it performs well. But for me, it definitely lacks feeling in that kind of sense. Again, this is hard to explain, and for everyone, I guess that's a little bit different. But for me, it means the shots need to be a bit more contrasty, need to have a bit more depth to them because of that contrast, shadows being there properly, showcasing different areas of lighting and so on. Nothing is perfect in life ever, and this also includes in photography. And I kind of like it when shots aren't perfect, because it just allows the shot to have some character. When it comes to the Google Pixel 7a, it kind of has that approach of, I need to make sure that everything is clean, and I need to make sure that everything has no grain or anything like that at all. And that's something that is definitely noticeable on the shots when it comes to the Google Pixel 7a. Don't get me wrong, it isn't a bad shooter at all. It just wants to go for that perfect kind of effect. Then of course we have to talk about colors in general, and I think here the Google Pixel 7a doesn't do bad, but it isn't reflecting reality in the sense that some other phones that I've tested do. And then of course we also have to talk about the camera experience in general, the camera app experience. I will say here, this is my biggest gripe so far with the Google Pixel 7a. I love to play around with my camera. I love to have different effects, have just the possibility to use something that is integrated into the camera itself. For instance, my Xiaomi 13 Pro has like filters or effects where you can use black and white, filmic mode, everything like that is really nice to have on your phone. You don't need to edit, it's just right there on your phone and you can just use that, which is something that I truly enjoy. This is not the case when it comes to the Google Pixel 7a, but if you take your normal shots, you really don't have any possibility to play around. In video you can change a little bit when it comes to, for instance, the Kelvin of it, but apart from that you just don't have much possibility to play around, and that's for me the biggest gripe when it comes to Google. And I understand that they are aiming just for a very different audience, those people that simply want to have a quick snapshot of something around them. It's really made for that, and you can tell. Doesn't mean it's bad that I don't like it, no, it's just not for me probably when it comes to photography. Because again, for me, photography is about the possibility to play around. Either way, we're going to find out how it does in low light as well. I'm going to make a separate video for that because I always feel like I want to split this up a little bit. So people that are looking for a certain part of the camera performance can just look for that certain camera part. And of course, I'm going to compare it to the 13 Pro. Again, just showcasing the difference between the approaches of computational photography and heavy computational photography as well when it comes to the Google Pixel 7a, where of course the Xiaomi 13 Pro has a very different approach. So this is something that I want to play around with and just see how the difference is and showcase what I mean with it. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video. Of course, if you did, don't forget to subscribe, like and everything. Trying to hit 10,000 before the end of the year. And of course, talk to you guys in the next